Hello, everybody. Welcome back to Every Day is Friday 365. Today, I've got a guest who's built a whole new world, literally. He's an author, a storyteller, and a deep thinker. He also plays football and he loves his dog. You can find his book on Amazon in the description down below. It's called The Hidden Chaos Series and Persona's Trek. This story is about purpose, survival, and what it means to be human. 200 years after World War III. Ro, I'm excited to have you on the show.
Man, I'm glad to be here, man. Thank you for the amazing introduction, Matt. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I'm a newborn self-published author, and I just that was my first book, and then like you said, it's a series, and I've got four in store for it, and I'm right now currently writing number two.
No, I'm looking forward to having you on this podcast. There's going to be a lot of gems in this for the listeners. And for the listeners who may not be familiar with your line of work yet, can you give us a quick rundown of who you are and what you do?
All right, so I'm Roland Williams. Originally from New Orleans, Louisiana, and then moved to Memphis, Tennessee. Played college football, so I traveled a lot. Pre-COVID, I was able to play at lucrative big schools, FBS schools like the Air Force Academy, University of Richmond, and Abilene Christian. And after I got my master's degree from Abilene Christian University, I tried to pursue the professionals, and due to how small of a chance it is to get into an opportunity like that, I end up thinking to myself, if there's a way I can figure it out on my own, let's see if I can figure that out. So I used my degree to get a job, and now I'm going down the route of becoming my own self-made millionaire, basically.
No, I love that. And I just want to start off with it's always fascinating to hear the why behind everyone's passions. I mean, how did your journey into writing begin?
So what actually started was my first college I went to was the Air Force Academy, right? I was a huge book reader. As you can see, got plenty of books behind me of fiction and nonfiction in different genres. But when I was at the Air Force Academy, we went through basic training. And when I went through basic training, I couldn't have a cell phone or any of the things that most people would dare to lose, nowadays. And I was journaling a lot. And when I did, my roommate at the time was originally from Sri Lanka. And he was telling me about all the different, the polytheistic gods they have in Hinduism. And I was very intrigued. And while he was telling me these stories, I was like, man, I could create my own world like that. And if anyone were to read my book, it's set in Afro-Eurasia. So it's around the area that he was, telling me with all these religions and things of that nature. So obviously post World War III, like in the book says, I'm in the military. So I started writing the ideas and the concept of my book in 2017, 2018 when I was a freshman in college. And I kept it in that journal. Obviously, due to football, I postponed it all these years. And when I finally got out of football, I was like, you know what? I've got this shelved. Let me just do it. And it's one of those things where if I didn't do it, regardless of sales, regardless of people even like it, if I didn't do this, I would have the biggest regret of what if I did. So that's why I finally came back, backpedaled, and finally came back to writing and finishing it.
Yeah, for the listeners who may not be familiar, how did you come up with the ideas for the Hidden Chaos series? And can you describe it a little bit more for the listeners? And did football help shape your way of thinking and writing?
So it's funny. So the main character is Shadrach Aloy. Shadrach is the son of the other main characters of the book. Is two main characters, Shadrach Aloy and his sister Evita Aloy, and both of them coexist together after the time skip of him being taken into the military. Well, the concept of making Shadrach was actually based on my dog Ash, my first dog. I have two of them, and the reason why I say that is Shadrach is supposed to embody a werewolf, right? So when I think of a dog, when I think of a canine lupus, I'm thinking of something that is loyal, something that doesn't question the owner, something that protects without question, but also loves without question too. So throughout the whole story, especially because most of the time it's written in his own thoughts, I'm basically thinking, how would Ash be? Whenever I'm doing something crazy, I'm traveling over. I've had Ash since my third college. So he's traveled to many, many states, and he doesn't question. He's sitting in my passenger seat of my car, and he's just like, wherever we go next, Dad, that's where I'm going. That's who inspired Shadrach, because throughout the first book, his biggest issue is he doesn't know how to question, which is also the reason why his sister, who is a questioner because she's never been in the military, she's like, what's wrong with you? Like, why don't you question some of the things that's going on in this world? Why are we doing this and you have no issue following along? Right. And that's their dispute as family members, because he was gone for 12 years in the military and became this totally different human being that was once very curious in chapter one. And then when he arrives in chapter two, it's like 180. Right. And then the sister, man, who embodies her? It's funny. It actually embodies my baby sister. I have a little sister named Sage. And I kind of wrote her as like the spunky, very emotional and very like, I'm a Miss Peabody. I'm gonna figure out why we're about to do this. And her character as a 12-year-old at the very beginning of the book, she essentially is the anchor between the father and the son who were once really close in chapter one and they got separated due to the military. And she's trying to bring them back together in a sense of, Dad, why is this guy who's my older brother? I've never seen him. I've never met him. Why all of a sudden should I care about him? And it's really separating them two. And there's huge twists, there's huge plot twists, there's huge emotional, roller coaster. I have a theme for all my books, and the first one is definitely geared towards I would say like it's like Revelation. It's one of those things where it's like it's family, and with family, it's one of those your curiosity for your family. Like as kids, we never question our parents, and then when we get older, we find out the truth about our family. We're like, oh, I didn't know that. Like that makes sense for why X, Y, Z happened. That's what book one is, and it'll pave the way for book two, the prequel that I'm going to write, and then book three, which will be the finale for the series.
Now, Ro, how did you come up with the title Persona's Track?
It's crazy that you said that, because when I said hidden chaos, it's because I'm already like I have already written the last scene of the finale. Like I've already written it. So in my head, I'm like, how can I get to the last scene? So being that I already have the last scene, without spoiling anything, I said hidden chaos because I'm thinking to myself, like, chaos in itself is two things. You have things that bring life, and then you have things that destroy life, and then together they bring chaos, right? If you're having a great day, right? Let's say you're just having a great day, you're minding your business, and somebody else is having a horrific day. Without y'all coexisting in the same area, you're having your own day. But then when y'all collide, something's gonna happen. That's chaos. It could either go well because you tell them, hey, have a better day, or it could go bad because they're like, no, I'm gonna have a bad day. I'm gonna be pessimistic. That's hidden chaos. It's hidden. You don't know what's gonna happen, but that's why it's chaotic. So I wrote this story because I want the readers to essentially act like they know what's gonna happen, like a murder mystery. Oh, I feel like it's gonna be a cliche moment. No, you don't. I want you to be surprised with every step I take because it's chaotic. That's how it's supposed to be. So yeah, that's how I came up with the series title, and then for each title of the book, it's basically like depending on what's going on with the story. So the first one is Persona's Track. Persona is identity. Track means journey. Put them together, that's finding yourself, and that's what the brother and sister are doing. They're trying to find who they are. The second one, because I've already released a title name, Paid Sins, right? And it's like if you think about the concept of that, and especially if you read the book one, Paid Sins, it's like you have to pay your dues, pay your debt. And if Vita's on the cover of it, you could pretty much assume why she's on the cover and why it's called Paid Sense.
No, that makes a lot of sense. And what I got out of it was the journey part of it. And for me personally, I say this all the time on the podcast, it's about the journey, not the destination, but the personal development throughout the journey. I resonated with that book title so much. And how did you decide to put quotes in every chapter?
Oh, you noticed that? Yeah. Yeah. So I put quotes in front of every chapter because there's so many books that exist. And I'm like, how can I make my book stand out? And it's something so subtle. And I realized that more people who read it, they actually enjoyed it. I'm thinking, if I just give you a quote that could connect to that chapter, they do, but maybe not in the ways that you think. Because again, chaos is unpredictable, it's unprecedented. I was like, man, if I have these quotes at the beginning of it, those quotes might be something that you want to have for the rest of your life. Talking like sound bites. You might take one of those quotes out of my 40 chapters, 40 quotes, 40 chapters, and say, I want to live by that quote. And that's kind of how I'm thinking, because then I make that chapter stick to you better. You read an amazing quote. Now I see why he said that quote. It's connecting to that chapter. Now you remember chapter four more than chapter, 30. It's like your favorite episode of a season, basically.
That's such a thoughtful touch. I mean, do you have a favorite quote from your book?
Actually, I have a lot of quotes that I wrote myself. My favorite one, it's got to be probably chapter one. Actually, it's a prologue. Yeah, it's the first one I ever came up with. It came right off the head because it was one of the things I read when I was in the military, and I actually wrote this quote down in my journal. I had to remember it like the back of my hand. And it goes, "War does not determine who is right, but only who is left." By Bertrand Russell, the Armistead of 1918. And that's one of the things I had to remember back in the military. So that was the very first quote that I had to come up from my book.
It's very deep. What's the main lesson readers should learn from your book?
The main lesson from actually the whole premise of the book is making decisions based off emotions typically doesn't bode well. And there's going to be a lot of things in a book where fights or decisions making, especially because it's a journey, it's a series, that a lot of times people be like, would I make that decision? would I do that? And it all boils down to, if I take the emotional aspect out of my decision making, I would make a better decision anyway. Right. And that's the whole premise. Avita, who is emotionally driven because she's younger, she makes decisions based on her emotions. Shadrach, who is essentially emotionless, he's making decisions based on logic. And they collide. They're chaotic because they're just like, why are you doing this? Well, why can't you do that? And I think if you think about a lot of situations that we live in day to day, depending on how we feel, depending on how we handle most situations. If we're at a red light, and someone's not driving and it turns green and that person in front of us is taking their sweet time while traffic is going and you got to go to work. If you're having a good day and you're just calm, you're probably going to let it slide. But you know what? It is what it is. Right. But then if you're just like, Chick-fil-A messed up your order, your Starbucks coffee just spilled, and now this person's not driving, road rage. But that road rage could lead to chaos to where they might have road rage too. Now y'all both bucking at each other. You might hit their car, they might hit you, all because you couldn't just relax.
No, that's such a good point. And I have something written on my wall behind me. It says, "Don't let your emotions control your reality." And what you just said is so true.
Yeah, because I played sports. When I played college football, I was actually very reactive. There was a lot of times I did things based on my emotions, which playing college football in high school, college, whatever level you're playing at, it's very emotional. You're sitting there competing with somebody who essentially has the rights to beat your behind, and you don't want to get embarrassed and you also want to show out and the tensions are high. And I used to let it get the best of me. So when I started practice stoicism. When I became calmer, that's what allowed me to be like, okay, cool, stop making rash decisions. Because I mean, if you think about it, everyone's on survival mode nowadays. People just react to whatever's best for them. It's best in their interest every time. When someone wants to do something that you think, hey, why did you make that decision? That's because in their head that was the best decision for them at that time.
Now, how did you fall in love with science fiction?
Man, there's a great author out there. His name is Christopher Paleoni. I've read this series a million times. These big old books that I have behind me, they're the Aragon series, and it's a dragon book. I don't know if you remember them, but it's the Dragon series book. They were the first book. Hate to say this, they're better than Harry Potter in my opinion, but essentially they came out around the time of Harry Potter. Got introduced into that series when I was really young and fell in love with him. And then after that, I started reading other science fiction, Rick Riordan, Percy Jackson. I don't know if you know this Nicholas Flamel series, The Alchemist. I read that as well. And science fiction, if you really think about it, people think nonfiction is the best books, but that's just like straightforward facts. It's nonfiction that tells you, the actual things that you need to adjust for your life. You're like, that's the miss, because you can't. It's like a comedian can tell you a joke, but it's really the truth. Same thing like nonfiction. No one thinks a book about cats is really about how to control your money, stuff like that. Yeah, and that's me too. I know for a fact I'm putting, life lessons in my book because I can. It's a science fiction. No one's gonna think twice about a science fiction book except the people who are crazy enough to think about it.
No, that's a great takeaway. And a lot of people don't even think about it that way.
No, absolutely. And again, it's one of those things where, there's a reason why science fiction is always popular base. Because it's like you get lost in the world. I love playing video games and things of that nature, but I play so many games that I use all the video games to come up with my next concept, my next idea. My favorite game series of all time is Sonic the Hedgehog. And there's a particular scene in my book where it was a fight. And I was like, how do I write the pace for this fight? Like, how can I make this pace with the adjectives and adverbs that I'm using, like at the speed that I want? While I'm writing that scene, I'm literally listening to the OST of Sonic the Hedgehog 2, the pyramid scene where it's the level where Sonic is at. It's called Great Pyramid, something like that, where he's in the desert. The speed of that is basically the same speed of one of the fights in my book. And I literally was listening to that scene over and over and over. And I'm like, and it's one of I've had, people tell me like, oh, they really like that scene. I was like, okay, cool. Cause you match the speed based on how fast the words were coming off the page.
Now, Ro, I don't want you to give too much away of your book, but what is life like in the world of World War III? What is life like in the world after World War III in your story?
So essentially, the United States had lost. They had lost to Japan and Russia, and when they lost, everyone had to have a mass exodus to the Middle East, right? So basically, Dubai became this giant hub called MES, and this hub allowed everyone to go there who could survive the trek there. And then After that, they cured all diseases. This controlled population. They're all in this place called the Hemisphere, and they're in this giant dome that stretches basically the whole Middle East. And once everyone's in there, they become this new race called Pixians, Pex humans, right? Kind of cliche, but they become these humans who are basically cured of the diseases that they know of. And it's a controlled population. It's kind of like a totalitarian, but it's like kind of like Elysium. Like you don't have to worry about any problems. You've got robots taking care of everything. You can only have 2 kids per household. It's real cool. Like it's chill. All the children are learning basic survival because the head people are like, one day we could get attacked. But we're teaching the kids at a young age how to survive. So every adult, every kid knows how to survive outside of the hemisphere, but no one goes out. It's only precautionary reasons. Now, outside of the hemisphere, there's no human, as far as they know, who are domesticating animals or taking over cities. So all the animals, all the flora and the fauna, like they're all flourished. These animals have evolved. These plants have evolved. There's no, like, if you have a tree, let's say you have a red oak tree, and you put that seed inside of a vase, inside of a dome, no matter how big it's supposed to be, it's only going to grow as big as the vase allows it. Well, if humans are a vase of the world and they're gone, everything can grow with no limitation. So outside of the hemisphere, it's like how we see Jurassic Park. Essentially, all these animals evolved and they're just free roaming the world. So there are humans out there, but the people in the hemisphere think they don't exist or they're dead. But it's like, oh, there's no way they're surviving that. So when the journey starts after chapter 2, when they leave the hemisphere, I've made this Afro-Eurasian area that's like, man, if I wanted to make a world 200 years later that's just like post-apocalyptic, how crazy can I get with it? We've had earthquakes and stuff. I'm giving, areas that never had, water. I'm giving them a rainforest. I'm giving them, because it's just my imagination, but it's like, I'm also using some form of like logic. Like this could happen because we also live in a world where our human advancements have sped up a lot of things. So this possibly could happen. Like we weren't supposed to have the Ring of Fire blowing up, but we did because they dropped the atomic bomb. Whoops. So now, that's in North America and South. Well, North America, for example, is a desert. It's covered in snow because of the ashes from Mount St. Helen and Mount Rainier. The ashes that when it erupted, covering up the sun, it froze the United States. It's actually in the history books. There's actually a time, I think it was like 18, is it 1800s or 1700s or 1800s? Correct me if I'm wrong. That there was an eruption in a mountain in either India or Indonesia that ash clouds traveled all the way to the U.S. and it was called the coldest summer in the United States, where places like Texas and them had snow because the sun was covered. So it's actually happened in history. So I essentially made that happen again, but this time it was like ice age type happen.
That's really cool how you used real world events for your storytelling.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, I don't want somebody calling me out for something that's incorrect.
Now, I have to ask you this. I think this is really cool how you put this in your book. What inspired you to put the map inside your book?
Oh man. Oh man. I it's so crazy because I did it myself. It took a long time, and I wish I could have added color. Like the premise of why I didn't have colors is because I didn't want people to pay more just for a premium price. I was just like, like I want you to get the gist of it. It's still on the book. Like one day because I'm self-published. One day there'll be a big publisher that will actually do it the correct way. The bad boy Christopher Paleone. If you read any of the Aragon books, he has the map of the book, and I remember as a kid when I would read following Aragon and Rowan, his cousins, and everyone in his journey. And I'm like, oh, wait, they're here? Let's go back and then look at the map. So it's just little something. Like if people wanted to follow along, they can. And I will, like, it's foggy. That's kind of inspired by Ubisoft's Assassin's Creed. Whenever you do syndication points, it's foggy. Book 2, I'm unraveling the fog for the next portion of the book that they're gonna go travel to. So yeah, no, definitely was inspired by the great Paleone with his book series.
Now, writing a book takes serious commitment. What's the hardest part about writing a 40 full chapters book?
Discipline. I was blessed. I won't lie to you. I was truly blessed. Most people, because I didn't tell a lot of people. I think I can count on one hand how many people knew I was writing a book, like genuinely writing a book, because I didn't want to hear like white noise. It's one of those things where it's like people have deadlines, expectations. It's like, and if it flopped, like no one knew about it, then no one knew about it. But I won't lie. I had a really great friend at the time who They were so inspired by the book
Mhm.
because I was able to, like, like tell them that this is something that I'm passionate about, that they had their deadline. So I had an expectation of somebody every single day. And they would be like, I want to read a chapter every day. So every day I'm like, okay, cool. Let me bust my behind 5, 6 hours a day and write a chapter. And just hearing their reaction as if there was like that first fan, that one viewer on your podcast, that one viewer on your live stream. 40 chapters, 40 days. I won't lie. It took me less than 50 days to write a 500-page book because I just had someone who was willing to, give me just that little push. Could I have done it without them? For sure. But a lot of people think you need the approval of many others. Nah, it's just you. It's always just you. If you got that one supporter, appreciate them. And I definitely appreciated my supporter at that time because they allowed it to happen as soon as it did. And I couldn't be more proud of myself that I was able to finally get something that's been shelved for so long out there.
No, it's really cool.
Now, wrote books can really shape someone's life at a young age. What message do you hope younger readers walk away with?
The one message that I want is for people, that obviously don't judge a book by its cover. I don't look like an author. I've had people just flat out tell me like they've read my book and they're like, I would never expect this out of you. As offensive as that could be, that's the point. Where I grew up in Memphis and New Orleans, you don't see a lot of Barnes and Nobles around the corner. You see more liquor stores. And that's the point, that like you could be an athlete and not have to just abuse your body to become a storyteller for hundreds, millions, or whatever. You could write a book. You could be a songwriter. You could articulate yourself in other ways. So my message isn't necessarily like, hey, he's the next, J.K. Rowling or R.L. Tolkien. No, I want to show you that like I was an athlete that you want to see in front of thousands and thousands on TV, but I'm also your next favorite author that your kids are going to read about one day. It's the adaptability. It's the longevity, right? More people are going to remember me being an author than they are about my college career, you know?
Oh, that's so true. And how do you stay creative when you're not writing?
I'm so glad you actually asked that. So we look like we're around the same age. You remember the TV show K&D, Codename Kid Next Door?
Yes.
Yeah, okay, so those kids, right, which were a group of them, their biggest fear was the adults and the teenagers. Like number five's older sister Cree and all that stuff. They feared growing up and they would try everything they can to stop them. But it wasn't because they didn't like the older adults or the older teens. They just didn't want to lose imagination, right? Their biggest fear was when you get older, you literally lose imagination. Cree still did, her things, but she worked by herself. She wasn't in a group. And then adults, they just flat out lost imagination. And that's what it is with us now, that as we get older, if you think about the most successful people in the world, Elon Musk, Michael Jordan, any of those people, they fulfilled their imagination that they had as a kid. Most of us forget our imagination as we get older, maybe due to responsibilities or anything of that nature. But if you want to be the best version of yourself, remember why you wanted to grow up in the first place. Because when you was a kid, you wanted to get older, become the next pilot, the next Joe Rogan, the next Elon, all that. But then as we got older, our imagination gets seeked away from just existed. And when I wrote this book, that was a part of my imagination as a kid. I wanted to be an author. And it's like now that I wrote that out there, I still have it. I still have it. Now I can do whatever else I want. Now I can write book two. I can go pursue this. I can pursue that. It's little things that you could do that all like comes back from your imagination that can make you remind yourself who you are. It's kind of a purposeful thing, but yeah.
No, it's very powerful because like most people don't even realize that being having creativity is so powerful. I mean, don't turn it off. You just have to shift it.
Yeah, absolutely. And don't let life deter it. Sometimes, things happen for sure. And things, you got to pivot and turn a corner or whatever. But at the end of the day, like imagination is very much tied to your purpose, So if you lose your purpose, you're essentially still losing your imagination. And that's what makes people soulless. They're just, what's the word? NPCs.
I agree with you. I think a lot of people have to put themselves in situations they don't feel comfortable in and be willing to fail to succeed.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's one of those things where once you become kind of aimless, just like time flies. Time really flies. And a lot of people don't know it until it's too late. But when you have that imagination purpose, like I keep saying again, it's one of those things where you realize I don't have much time. Like I truly don't have much time. There's somebody fulfilling your dream right now out there that's doing it faster than you. They're not thinking about, oh, I have this issue right here. Everyone has issues. Everybody has issues. You either want it bad enough or you're going to want it bad enough for somebody else because somebody's fulfilling somebody's dream out there.
No, it's a great takeaway. And so I did a little bit of digging on your YouTube channel and I came across a few of your video titles and it really caught my attention. I think the listeners would love to hear you just unpack what it means behind each of these. I mean, a couple of them, I just really want to bounce off of what we were just going off of about just always shifting. And, life can change as fast as you want it to. Every 6 months you can look completely different, and I saw that on your page. You have this line that really stuck with me. It was like change as fast as you want it to, but every 6 months you have to look completely different.
Yeah.
What made you believe that?
So, I mean, if you look at, because I study out, it's one of a psychological thing that I tell myself, in that I believe I'm really ambitious and sometimes people call me crazy for it. I'm like, okay, the people who I inspire to imitate and be like, how does their life look like every 6, 12, 18 months? And it's one of the things that I've noticed that every 6 months, your life should be different. Just like how there's different seasons, the biggest ones that are different is summer and winter. It should look just as different every those 6 months in between. And when you have that kind of pace where you want things to be different every 6 months, you'll look back when things get rough or things are real bad in this time period. You'll look back and be like, wait, I was in a different situation 6 months ago or a year ago. So it's one of those, instead of looking at a goal 10 years and expecting results in 10 years, I'm breaking it down to 6, 6, 6 months. And it's a little bit easier because if I make even a small change every 6 months, then I'm progressing towards my 10-year goal. 6 months ago, I had never been on a podcast. And now I've been, I think this will be my fifth one. I've been on 5 and gone viral for multiple podcast clips, so things could change. Things could really change. Now my social media is looking way better than it was 6 months ago. A year ago, I had literally just dropped my first book. And now I'm writing my second one. Every 6 months I try to do something completely different. And that also is inspired by football, because one pair of 6 months you're in season. And then the next pair of 6 months you're either cut and transferring or you're about to go into spring ball, trying to prove to the coaches why you should still be on the team. So it's the same thing. Same thing, just try to do in my life, which again I learned from football.
No, that statement can wake people up. And I feel like a lot of people out there have to realize that small wins stacked on top of each other that make something that so magical. Like this podcast, for example, I started this 10 months ago. I'm over podcast 100 right now. This would be over 100, but I'm releasing 3 a week, and I think I'm at 87 right now. But in the future, this one will be posted. We passed 100. So like those milestones don't happen overnight.
No,
I mean, it takes commitment, dedication. You have to motivate yourself at the end of the day too, because no one's going to do it but yourself.
Yeah, no one's gonna care about your problems more than you care about your own. And it's one of those things where I'm actually very happy because it gives me accountability for myself. If I know I'm the reason why I'm dealing with my issue, that means that I can change it for myself. If there's a situation where I want to make more money, I want a better significant other, I want a better life situation, if I take accountability on it, that means I can change it. If I make it seem like it's out of my own reach, I'm kind of helpless. So yeah, absolutely. But again, congrats on your podcast having so many episodes. That's dope.
Yeah, I mean, I always wanted to be the top 1%, and for me to go past episode 100 will make me the top 1% of podcasters out there. And it's something not a lot of podcasters achieve. They don't even, a lot of podcasters never achieve past episode 3, and then like the percentage that passed episode 20 is very little as well. And like I am just going at it full steam. And like you're saying, Joe Rogan aspect of it, like I wanna compete with the top of them. I want to compete against Chris Williams or Joe Rogan or any of these podcasters out there. I'm naturally curious, and that's one of those things that you grow from. It's about the journey, not the destination, but the personal development throughout the journey. And like you were saying before, 10 months ago, I was a completely different person. There's nothing that I would take away, but I mean, there's so much that I would want people to understand about starting a podcast, because you got to have really good dedication, and because a lot of people are just going to talk down on you. Really, 100%, they go, like, it's not going to work. Why would I listen to you instead of Joe Rogan? That was one of those comments I got that really motivated me. And, that person listens to me every week now. It just shows you that if you keep on putting in the work, there's a saying that, if you build it, they will come. For me personally, it's like, that's kind of what it is. It's like, you just keep on putting in the work. I get people all the time messaging me, telling me what a good job I'm doing now. But in the beginning days, people were telling me, why are you doing this?
Yep,
What's the
yep,
point? Because you're
yep,
not making money,
yep.
and they're just doing their own thing, and they're very just depressed. A lot of people out there, and they're, what do we call them? CPUs,
NPCs. Oh,
NPCs. Yeah, that's all they are. A lot of
yeah,
people out
they're
there in this world.
misery loves comfort.
Hmm.
Misery loves comfort. Yeah, man, I get white noise. Come on, baby. I get white noise all the time. It's funny at this point because obviously, if you actually saw my page, because you just recently followed me, if you saw my page really a month ago, I had like 2,000 some followers. I have now almost 7,000. I gained because I went viral twice on being on a podcast, and I'm gaining followers by 5-10 minutes a new follower, and it's one of those things where now I'm having people who have been watching me for a year plus. They're like, oh, how did you do it? They're calling me, asking me questions. I'm never the type of guy who thinks I'm too good to give back. I wish I had people who did get back to me when I was trying to figure it out, because everything has been on my own. But with that being said, it's kind of the irony of once you become competent, now everybody is done being your competition. Everyone now wants to know how you did it instead of you can't do it. And they want to wonder what can you do to help them. They were the same people that didn't ask for help, but now they want to cheer. And instead of me getting frustrated like most people would, that oh, they didn't really mess with me, they didn't want to help me, I just asked myself, if you were them, would you help you? Would you want to look at you and say, I'm gonna give my time and my problems to the side to help you live your dream? Because you're essentially just living a dream that they can't do for themselves. When I moved to Miami, when I started doing the crazy workouts, when I wanted to write a book, when I wanted to, become, not gonna say celebrity, but like influentially known, everyone else is looking at me like, I'm not even doing that. So why would I want to do it for you?
I love to say that everyone wants the view on top of the mountain, but they don't want to climb.
Oh yeah, yeah, not at all. They do not want to climb Mount Everest. They do not want to get to the, and that's cool. That's cool because it makes it that much sweeter when you make it. The journey's always that's the hardest part actually is when you get to the top and you don't know what to do next. Cause then it's just like, dang, I really did reach my goal. Like after I wrote my first book, I was like, what do I do next? Like, what do I do next? And that's why I'm already like, I've literally made the cover of book two and then the prequel, and then I'm like, okay, stop. Don't do three yet. I've already got the end of the three. I already know what's gonna happen next. After that world, like a whole another world in the series and all that. I'm like, no, relax. Like when you say you look at my YouTube, I do reviews on games because I'm like, I already beat games like once a week, like brand like games you never heard of, and I'm like, okay, I need to just put that out there because at least people can find it like resourceful, like monetize me on YouTube with the same thing I'm doing for free. So yeah.
Yeah, if I could circle back to what we were just talking about, I had a buddy. So I have a clothing brand, Every Day is Friday 365, and I started from scratch. And I have hoodies, t-shirts, hats, koozies, everything. I had a buddy that wanted to start his own clothing brand. So I used all my failures for his success. I taught him everything I'd used. I told him everything I've done, how to do it. And I talked to him last week, and he goes, yeah, I dropped it. I gave it up on it. And I was like, you gave up on it? You were so committed for a couple days to a week, and then you just give up because you saw how hard it was going to be. I told you it wasn't going to be easy. Nothing's easy in this world. And it was like one of those things that, like you were saying, like you give away the secret sauce to help people, and it's on them if they want to take the next step.
I'll give you two things about so that. One, I've learned, especially right now, is don't put expectations on people, no matter if how close they are to you, because they're not you. You are only going to realize they will never reach the expectations that you have put on them accidentally, right? Because they haven't earned those expectations. If they're asking you for advice, that means they haven't earned it. They haven't proven nothing to you. You're literally giving them help, right? They have the same two arms and two legs like you do. They can figure it out on their own. The second thing, people will only do right when they're truly uncomfortable. And what I mean by that is let's say you want to become a self-made millionaire, but you have your rent paid for, you have your car, you have a steady job. That's not very uncomfortable. If you had an eviction notice at your door and you lost your job, you just got laid off, and your car got repossessed and you want to become a millionaire in a month, I guarantee you'll figure out how to become a millionaire because you are truly uncomfortable that you have to survive. Your fight or flight's going to kick in. So when people ask me for advice, I also ask myself, they don't realize that I'm asking it for this reason, but I also ask myself, how uncomfortable is this person right now? I listen to their story. If they don't say anything that sounds like, yeah, you really want to have it, then I have the expectation lowered. I'm like, you're probably not gonna do nothing with this information. And that's cool. Because I can still be your friend. You just won't have that much of my time. I'm not gonna waste an hour trying to teach you the secret sauce like you just said. But if you're somebody that's like, you're always calling, you always checking, you're always asking me for advice, and I see you putting in the effort, oh yeah, you uncomfortable. You really uncomfortable. And then the people I've aspired to be like, they can see it, they can smell it. Because think about it, people are asking them all the time, like, hey, can you help me become? But they're like, nah, you just asking, you want a handout. There's a difference between a handout and a person who wants to have their hand in. There's a difference. A handout is you're gonna be the same person you were if I helped you right now. You know, a hand in is like, okay, I'll give you 25 cents, make it $1. And they come back with $1. You know, that's the type of person I want to help.
No, you're right. You have to put in the work. And I always say this, if you want it done right, you have to do it yourself.
Absolutely. You got to care about you. You got to love yourself before you can love others. The only reason you're willing to help your friend is because you made the mistakes already. You figured it out on your own. If you hadn't figured it out, what advice could you give them?
Yeah, which is so powerful because, I mean, a lot of people don't want to struggle. I mean, but that's actually the secret sauce, the
Oh
struggle,
yeah.
the failures.
Yeah, the best way you learn is from feedback. You won't learn without anything else. You need feedback. Whenever I do a podcast, whenever, I post, like me, for example, whenever I go viral, I typically aim for certain, insights. And I've only learned, people don't know this, but like how I learned how to consistently go viral is I would post the things that I would want to post on Reddit first. If you could make a subgroup of people blow your thing up on a group that is like even like there's moderators that will prevent it from getting shared. They will turn it off and say no one else can like it. But if you could still make it blow up in a subreddit, you can make it blow up on an algorithm. Like that's easy. But I learned from Reddit first. Anonymous people, you don't know who they are and they don't know who you are. Do it on that first. And then once I learned, okay, the words, how to correctly talk to comments and know when people are trolling and all that, then I took it out to the social media apps. And now it's consistent enough because I have a ways compared to the people who constantly get millions of views. My page is way too small to be getting the views that I get. So I must know something, you know.
No, your story is truly inspiring, bro. And I want to go on to the next question for you because me and my dad had this conversation. He was actually talking to me about it. And we're around the same age. And you posted a really bold video called Why Most Men Fail Before Their 30s.
Mhm.
What's the truth behind that message?
Man, most men fail because they just won't take risk. Like and it baffles me because obviously when I took that video and I started off, I was kind of like sporadic with my words. So obviously it was like I ain't gonna say triggering, but it was like an emotional, thought piece. But I'm literally thinking to myself, like, again, why I have to lower my expectations? I'm just looking around and I'm like, how are there so many people who are just okay, particularly men, okay with the outcomes they want, but yet they complain about them? They want to talk to this girl. They want to get out this job. They want to help their mom. They want to do this. But I'm like, look what you're doing. You clearly don't like, I don't aimlessly say I love you to people because how can I say I love you if I can't take care of all the things that would prove that I do? Like for example, like girls, would think that I'm crazy when I don't really say I love you to them or don't really mean it or I can't mean it because I'm just like, I can't take care of all your problems. I don't want to say it. I don't want to tell you that because until I can take care of all your problems, my love is in vain, And this is one of those things where people think, okay, how can I change it? How can I be in a situation where I can love somebody and take care of them? Bro, take a risk. And it ain't even got to be no crazy risk, right? Like I was literally living in Colorado, had a steady job. I could have been very complacent. Colorado's beautiful. The air is nice. Everything was affordable. It was just, I had two beautiful dogs. Like there wasn't a bill. Like I haven't asked my parents for help on bills in years. And it's just, I had everything taken care of. And I said, screw that. I want to move to Miami. Just air bail. I didn't even get my 2-week notice. Just air bail. Cause I was like, throw me in the ocean, throw me in the pit because I'm gonna figure it out. The life that I want is one move away. And like you said, 6 months, another 6 months, a year later, totally different. A year ago, I'm sitting in a job that I'm just behind a desk. And now I'm, on podcasts, written books in Miami, in rooms with people that I never thought, like the outside in, I never thought I'll be able to say, oh, one of the, you didn't follow me at this time. So just this past weekend, out the blue. This is the blessing of my message, I guess, is out the blue. Like every time I go viral, I would have big pages like and comment. And I would always screenshot them. I never really post them, but I always screenshot them because I'm just like, this got to their algorithm. It got to their algorithm. Cool. Like no one knows this, but all right, that's tough. A special person commented. They didn't comment on my reel. They DM'd me. They didn't swipe up on my story or they didn't swipe up on my reel. They DM'd me. And it was Kevin Gates. He DM'd me on Instagram and he goes, "You're powerful," with like some emojis. And I was just like, oh, it made it to your For You page? And I'm like, you didn't swipe up on my story, so that means you searched my name up and then DM me. I was like, yo, that's crazy. I did post that one, but I was telling people like, this is why I keep going. Like I get DMs like this all the time, but this is the biggest one. This is why I keep going. And it's like, that's like the little reward you get from the universe where it's like, you're doing good. I'm about to show you you're doing good. Boom. I'm like, all right, bet, keep going. Keep going. Keep going. You're almost there. Keep going.
Yeah, it reminds me of that one quote. If you're 17 failures away from success, I mean, how fast are you going to fail?
Yeah. Yeah. If you, same thing when you ask people, like, okay, if you knew your death date, would you do everything you want to do in life? And they're like, hell yeah, I would do everything I want to do right now because I know I'm about to die. Well, it's the same thing. If you knew that it took you 20 more failures and then you'll be a millionaire, you'll be on your 20th failure by tonight. Like that fast. Oh, absolutely. You just don't know. You just don't know. But that's the beauty of it. Keep going.
Now, there's another deep one you have on your YouTube page. You said, why is purpose greater than my faith? And can you dive into that? Can you unpack that for us?
So, man, okay.
Let me say it again. Why is my purpose greater than my faith? That's what the title is.
Okay. So, why is my purpose greater than my faith? So, I say that because there's a lot of people who, when things typically go wrong, the first thing they want to do is run to faith. They want to say, okay, I've been reborn. I need help from God. And I totally get that. But in my head, I'm sitting there watching it like I am already blessed. I can't run to God and ask for more. That is greedy in my head because even his son, who he begged for mercy on his deathbed, didn't get it. And he was perfect. So why would I beg for more? If you really compare, he's dying and I'm begging for a higher paying job. I'm begging for a girl to talk to me. I'm begging for the bills to be paid. That's crazy if you ask about it. And then I'm like, hands work, head works, legs work. I can go get it. I can go get it. And since I know my purpose, I mean, that's why it's greater than my faith. When I wake up every morning, 10 minutes I dedicate to, thanking the universe and God for allowing me to open my eyes, see my baby boys, and go get it. And then when I come home, because I know a lot of people who walk outside and don't return back. And I'm glad I'm able to come back and put my head on my bed and I, say a quick prayer. And I'm like, thank God in the universe that I had another great day. I don't care how bad the day could have been. I thank you anyway. Let's go wake up tomorrow and pursue it again. And I just feel like what you put out is what you get in. And if you put out good, the universe will bless you. I have yet to see, even from my own performance and other people that I inspire to be, that when they keep doing good, that they only get bad. You will get your break. You will get your break if you're actively doing it, because it's like, if you're the universe judging with all the billions of people around on this earth, why should they choose you to get blessed right now? Why do you deserve to be blessed? Why do you deserve your podcast to be bigger than the next person who's working? But it is that one day that you get on, knowing you don't want to, that that one person that you was like, you know what, I'm gonna reach out to them and get them on my podcast. That'd be the one that go viral. And that'd be the one that changed your life, all because you wasn't lazy that day. So yeah, you best believe that I truly believe that my purpose is bigger because my purpose keeps me stubborn to an extent. It definitely keeps me stubborn, but it keeps me grounded. When everything is shaking around me, I'm like, oh, I'm not wavering. I'm not wavering, you know.
No, that makes a lot of sense. And that can be life changing for some people. They don't even, I mean, most people don't even think about it in that way.
Because it's hard. Again, I think the reason why people don't think of it that way is because accountability is hard. Like, you know how hard it is to sit there and say, no matter what problem you have, even if someone else deliberately did it, that you just say, no, it's my fault. Someone just hit your car and you were just parking in the red light. You doing your job and someone hit your car. Instead of me saying, oh, it's their fault, I'm thinking to myself, did I waste 5 extra minutes at the house for why I didn't leave 5 minutes earlier and I never would have been around them. That's the type of way I think to myself. Where it's like, why did I miss something with work? Well, did I sleep in just an extra 2 more minutes that if I did the exact same thing I just did, I'd have been 2 minutes earlier. That's how crazy I think about it to myself because I want to take full accountability for everything. It keeps my head on because I feel like I can't control it. Then what am I trying? Then what? What am I doing? If I feel like I can't control it, then what's the point of me even trying then? And I don't want to be like that. I don't want to be in a situation where nothing I could do could change it. Everything I have in front of me, I can change. And so far, that's been the case. When I played sports and I left the Air Force Academy, and my parents were like, "You're gonna go to a junior college that only won one game in the past 2 years. How are you gonna get recruited to the best schools? Don't worry about it. I'm gonna figure it out." And best believe I was ranked top 10 in the nation in my position. I figured it out. And then when I left Richmond, COVID had hit. How are you gonna get re-recruited? And you ain't played but 1 year. Don't worry about it. I'm gonna figure it out. I'm gonna control what I can control. And I got a scholarship to another school, another D1 school. So it's like control what you can control and take advantage of the opportunities. I have had 2 jobs since college, and I've only had a total 2 at one company and 1 at this company I'm at now. 3 interviews, like 3 opportunities for interviews. I didn't need 20, 30 different interviews. Why would you need that many interviews? If you need that many interviews just to get one job, you're probably not that good then. When the one opportunity comes, take advantage of it. Control what you can control.
Ro, another one of your titles on your YouTube page is Why Do I Want Problems in My Life? Can you unpack that for us, and what does that mean to you?
Man, because when I compare my life to the people that I inspire to be, you look at their lives and you're like, huh. Most people are thinking if I had $1 million, my problems would be solved. But then you have a new problem. How do you keep getting millions of dollars? And it's one of those things where it's like, when you really think about it, problems will always exist. But the size of a problem is typically the size of the man. I learned this, I learned this, shout out to Justin Waller. I learned this from Justin Waller. I actually met him down here in Miami. He's a huge, great guy. I met him, a former football player too. But yeah, one of the things he said on the podcast was like the problem of man is based on the problem of, like the size of the man, right? Like the president of the United States, dude, his biggest problem is trying to find a way to have millions and millions of people listen to him and protect them versus some guy who's living in the basement of his, parents' crib. They both have problems. One's problem is a little minute to the other one, and the other one's too big for the other one. So it's like I'm thinking to myself, the goals that I want in my life, the things that I want in my life, those are bigger problems that I have right now. But it'll make me that much more competent of a man if I do get those problems. You know what I'm saying? Like right now, my biggest problem I have in front of me is having my 2 dogs, having a job, fitting in podcasts, and making YouTube videos all the time. But that's a good problem to have. If you really think about it, that's a good problem to have because then eventually, what problem will I have next? I've got too many bookings. I don't know when I'm gonna, have, when I'm gonna have free time, or I want a lot of dogs, or I have to feed 7 dogs at one time, stuff like that. But it's like, dang, that's pretty ambitious, but that's really good. So yeah, nah, the bigger the problem that you have is actually the better of a person you are. In a sense of, us as men and the things of that nature. It's not mutually exclusive for sex or anything like that, but how I see it, especially learning from my father, it's like, yeah, if your problems are pretty big, you're pretty much doing a good job.
No, that sounds like a growth mindset right there.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I definitely have a growth mindset. I might be stubborn, but I do learn. And the thing that people ask me, they're like, okay, if you're so stubborn with your goals, how do you grow? Well, I make it real easy for myself. I look at someone who's giving me advice, and then I ask myself, okay, look at how they're looking, look at their life, and look at how they carry themselves. If you wouldn't want to be like them, then why would you take their opinion serious, right? If a person's trying to give me an opinion on something, and I'm like, I would never want to look like you, then take it with a grain of salt. It is what it is. Because then it's like their opinions is justified by the way they look. If they're lazy, if they're having social problems and relationship issues, and they want to give me advice on any of them 3 things, I'm gonna say, okay, you're right, you're right. I'm humble enough to like, oh, you're right. Don't take it any more serious than that.
Yeah, just take it as a
I don't
grain of
try to.
salt.
Yeah, I don't try to be combative with people. That's so much wasted time. Like whenever I catch myself like potentially about to argue with somebody, I'm like, you got it, bro. You got it, gang. That's I say that. Like, you got it. What? What do you mean? You got it. Leave it. Like, I don't really care that much. It is not contributing to my money.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of people, for me, for example, why would I listen to someone that's never done a podcast? it's very difficult for me to take advice from people. I listen, but it's very difficult for a lot of people for me to take advice from someone when, they never even put themselves in situations they don't feel comfortable in. They're
Yeah.
just sticking to their 9 to 5. They don't want to write a book. Like I want to write multiple books, same as you.
Hmm.
I'm not as far as you yet, but I'm on that journey. And it's really at the end of the day, what kind of legacy do you want to leave?
Yeah,
Because
I'm
because
huge on that.
I went to so many funerals in my life, and people are known by, that's John the electrician. That's who died. He was an electrician. Like they're known by what type of work they've done. And for me, it's like I'm a songwriter, I'm an artist, I'm a podcaster, I have a clothing brand. I mean, there's a lot more to someone than just being an electrician.
Yep. Yep. I'll never forget. So obviously the celebrity deaths. Whenever a celebrity dies, like I remember when Michael Jackson passed away, where I was, and how they televised that. Like that inspired me to say, I want a death so big that they gotta stop and put it on TV. And that's the saying, like you shoot for the moon, if you miss, you still hit the stars. Like I want to aim that high up because if I don't become the next Michael Jackson, I still get remembered. Because I'm like, once you leave this earth, the only reason that you're a ghost or you live longer, like inevitably longer, is because you leave a legacy. People are still whispering your name even when you're not around. And it's like I just can't fathom living a life where like you didn't leave a mark. That just like I don't want to be laying on my deathbed or wherever I'm about to pass away, and I don't have like I want a big family when I get older. I don't want to have a situation where I don't have all my kids and all their grandkids crying over me right before I die. You got some people who they die and it's just them and that nurse who happens to be taking care of you who doesn't even want to be there. Like, come on. Come on, it's. I mean, to each his own. If that's a life that some people want, that's the type of situation they want to be in life. Then have it your way. But me, you only get one life. That's not the life I want.
And you seem like you have lots of gratitude. With everything you've been through, what brings you back to gratitude all the time?
Because I would say definitely where I grew up in Memphis and New Orleans and seeing people just lose their lives over spontaneous events and being also the type of person where I've seen people crash out and just fall off the grid after good things happen. I'm really grateful because everything could be worse. Any situation I'm in, man, it could be worse. You could, if you get your tar code, well, you could have your car stolen. Or you're late for work, well, you could be in a car crash and that's why you're late. There was a situation I was in actually last September when I first moved here in Miami. I got into a car crash. It's nothing that I made like super public where you could like research or anything. It was just for the people who did see it, they did see it. But I got into this huge car crash down here in Florida, and it was just a person who T-boned me, and I crashed into a van, and my car literally turned and flipped, and I went over the guardrail and crashed into a ravine. And I'm heading to work, so I'm wearing my work clothes. I break the window and crawled out of my car, and my car is just stuck, completely total. Don't have the car anymore. A fire department and stuff came, and they're just like, "Man, do you need to go to the hospital or anything?" And I'm like, "I'm completely fine." Like no broken bones, no concussion. I'm holding my dog's ball that I had in my car, and that's what I grabbed right before I punched out. My phone still works. My headphones still work. The only thing I lost was a pair of glasses, and I'm like, nah, I could never be ungrateful. Like, I know people who've been in half of that and they can't walk anymore. I am still able to just be as normal as I was 10 minutes ago. I was like, I don't know if there's a sign or anything like that, but that was loud and clear. Like, all right, I'm never about to complain about life ever again. I'm at the time 26. I'm 26 years old still, and I'm about to turn it up a notch. And 6 months later, I've turned it up a notch.
Oh, that's it's very powerful. A lot of people out there, they're very for me personally, I'll put it this way. I always say this is so bad, this has to be good. And the way your mindset, you shift it, a glass of water like half full. If you see it half empty, you're seeing it differently than most people.
Hmm.
And you're just you have to be the top 1%, you have to do what the 99% isn't willing to do.
Hmm.
And a lot of people just don't have that mindset shift. They're into their 9 to 5. They're worried about their mortgage, their kids. Um, that's when you're younger. You have to take the risk. That's what I always tell people. When you're younger, take risk. Try to chase after your dreams because your dreams will not chase you.
So there's actually a cheat code to success. I learned this from the guru himself. He's one of the very few celebrities, I'll call it, who was willing to help me when I actually reached out and asked for advice a few years ago. He lives down here where I'm at in Miami. His name is Brandon Carter, and he taught me something that I never knew about, and I able to research more. It's called the reticulated activation system. You know how your phone has a For You page? So it's mimicked. That For You page is actually what you have in your brain. That's your reticulated activation system. It's something in your brain that filters what you digest out around you, right? So whatever your car is, let's say me, I drive a Jeep, right? Ever since I've had my Jeep after my wreck, I see Jeep Gladiators everywhere now. They didn't just magically start appearing. They just only started appearing because now my brain's like, let me filter it for you because it's clearly important to you. So if you know that certain things will be filtered by your brain, that means success could be filtered. If you're always positive and grateful and you're always like, I'm talking about obsessively like successful, the music you listen to, the words you say out loud, the type of people you allow around you, the content you digest, you will only find success because your brain will filter. Okay. Here's success right here. This is what you want. Here it is right here. Here it is right here. And it's such a cheat code. And he's talked about it so much. And when he first put me on game, I'm like, you know what? I'm gonna implement that. At first, it takes a minute because again, you're tricking your brain. But now I'm 2 years in since I've learned about it. And again, I don't know what anybody else, but I'm pretty successful the past, 2 years after being laying on my best friend's couch in Abilene, Texas, with the dog at that. So it's like, that's actually the cheat code. Like, that's actually a cheat code. Like, when you realize that you could filter your own brain, just like how you can your For You page. If you start looking up cookies and breadcrumbs and banana bread, I promise you your For You page is going to have nothing but that, right? And then when you talk about something else, it's going to change to that. Do that to your mind. When you wake up, don't have no crazy music in your head that you shouldn't be listening to right now at 5 in the morning if you want to go to the gym. Put on something about getting money, if you want to talk about like what you post out there on social media to gain the attention you want. I post, like you said, what's the first thing you said when you saw on my Instagram story before we started the podcast?
Oh, you're working out. You're doing a whole bunch of workouts. It was amazing. You're doing Bach jumps, one-legged Bach jumps.
Exactly. So you say you watch me do workouts and you wanted to speak about that. So that's why right before the podcast, we already started on the right foot. Instead of if I showed up late or anything like that, now you could already have your head, man, this might not be a good podcast. Now we're sitting here, you told me a 30-minute podcast. We've well past 30 minutes. You see what I'm saying? So it's little things like that. What you put out is what you get back in. But it's like I'm tricking my brain to only find good opportunities. Because bad is guaranteed. You're guaranteed a bad day. You are guaranteed a bad day. Good things are lucky. Bad days are guaranteed because it's subjective on what's considered bad. A bad day to you living in a first world country is a great day for someone in a third world country. But everyone's guaranteed a bad day. So why not trick your brain to always think good?
No, so true. I knew this was going to be a good podcast because I saw you working out before it.
Oh yeah, yeah.
I saw that. I was like, I go, I'm gonna do my thing. He's gonna do his thing. He's gonna be
Yep.
ready, prepared. And I want to do a little. I want to circle back on that. And my takeaway on that is, if you want to be great at something, like you were saying, the For You page, you have to put in the hours. You have to put in the work. 10,000 hours. Like for me, for this
Yeah.
podcast, I want to be a better speaker. So what do? I literally took a book and I read it out loud, every single word. If you want to be better at speaking anything, you have to put in the work. If you want to be better at playing guitar, you have to put in the work, the hours and dedication into playing and performing and putting yourselves in situations you don't feel comfortable in. And it's really just put in the work and hours and surround yourself, with your environment you want to be. Because like I have books all over the place like you do. Because if you surround yourself with a whole bunch of books, hey, guess what? You're going to read them.
Or write one.
Or start writing them,
Yeah, exactly. No, it's so funny. So like, I've had people ask me like, how do you know? Like, because they listen to my podcast, they're like, how do you know to say such good things right in the speed up a moment when you're talking on a podcast? And I'm like, first of all, when I grew up, people used to tell me to stop talking. They used to say like, you have ADHD or something, you talk too much, like roll. And I used to not care that they didn't like what was coming out my mouth. So I just learned how to be comfortable with saying whatever came to my mind and becoming better at it. Secondly, I just recently actually my coworkers were making fun of me because now they're like no, because they know I've been on a couple podcasts. They're like, he's talking like he's on a podcast right now. And in my head, I'm like, dang it, they figured it out because I'm practicing. Like when I'm talking to a group of people, I'm like, I bet podcast me right now. Boom. And I just switch because it's practice. It's practice. It's practice. You said the 10,000 hour. Don't tell me you got that from that book. You know which book I'm talking about?
I know the book you're talking about. I know the book you're talking about. I read it. I read a lot of books, and like if you want knowledge, it's in books. It's from the
Yeah.
people that have passed away and they put their knowledge in books. I mean, go read the books.
Yeah.
Robert Greene, he's one of my favorite authors.
48
Wow.
Lost. Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
all his books. I mean, all his books. I mean, you can't go wrong reading his books because he dives into just so many different topics on people. He dives into just the psychology behind a person. Some of his books is not even allowed in prisons.
Speak of the devil.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. No, it's crazy. It's crazy you say that because this you wanna know how I see authors? They're actually the mentors that you can't afford. If you really think about it, authors' books, they're the books that they write is basically mentors that you can't afford. Everyone wants to be mentored by, you know, what's the guy that Joe Rogan or Elon Musk, Donald Trump, all these big people that obviously you can't afford them. You couldn't afford a one-on-one with them. But they've written books. They have written books. Like one of the biggest guys that I would love to just be a fly on his wall is Curtis Jackson, aka 50 Cent. And I'm like, I could never afford 50 Cent right now. I'm not even relevant enough for 50 Cent to even look my way. So then I read his book, Hustle Harder. And
Great book.
let me tell, and you know what's great? You said Robert Greene. I'm like, he's got to be relevant if Robert Greene made a 49 Laws of Power 50 Cent version. So I'm like, let me read 50 Cent's Hustle Harder. And he had some great things in there that I'm like, a paid one-on-one mentor couldn't afford this. Couldn't afford it. That's why there's books, and like again, like I wrote mine is a fictional book. One day I will write a nonfiction. I haven't yet because how narcissistic could I be to write a biography or autobiography and I'm not even known? I'm not David Goggins. I'm not Deion Sanders. So why would people give 2 cents about my life when I haven't proved anything to them yet? Maybe to myself, but to the world, no, no, not yet, not yet. Keep fiction again. Fiction. There's a reason why J.K. Rowling is the richest fictional writer of all time because no one didn't know who J.K. Rowling was, but they loved Harry Potter. Now she writes an autobiography. People will tune in.
Yeah, I mean, even listening to podcasts alone will help people.
Absolutely. Oh yeah, absolutely. I would say podcasts. I love podcasts when you're engaged. When you're reading a book, you're engaged. You have to be. You can't white noise a book. I don't even do like audio books. Like, no, let me read these words because they're probably words I can't even, comprehend or say out loud. Whereas podcasts, you could be in a car driving and it's kind of just like white noise until you want to hear a certain part, which is cool. It's just that's the disconnect with like I do want to listen to podcasts as much as anybody else, but when it comes to a book, I'm fully engaged. I got to be because I'm reading it.
Yeah, another takeaway is surround yourself with people that you want to be like, become. In like watching podcasts, watching YouTube channels, reading books. You're surrounding yourself with those people. Like you really take the knowledge away from these people that you're learning from. I watch a lot of YouTubers, a lot of podcasters because I want to be like them in a way of just like take a little bit of this, take a little bit of that, and it becomes who I am. That's what humans are. We're all copies of something. We're all copying a little bit of this, a little bit of that from other people and other things because that's what makes us who we are. Is we just take little sayings or how to speak like this or how you grow up from your parents. I mean, it's huge how people surround themselves with people because if you surround yourself with someone that is really negative, you're going to be negative. If you surround yourself with people that are positive, you're going to become positive. It's just how things work. And it's all about the mindset that you have to have. It's not difficult really. It really not as difficult as you think it is to just put yourself in a situation you'll feel comfortable in, but you have to start. That's the thing with this podcast. Just hit record. If you want to start a
Yep.
podcast yourself, just hit record. Just like you with the YouTube channel. I mean, just hit record and it's not going to be great your first time. No one's amazing at first. And you just have
Yeah.
to put in the work, put in the reps, and eventually, you'll get that view on that mountain. But you have to climb the mountain to get the
Yeah.
view.
Yeah, and then piggybacking what you said about we learn from the people we're around. Everyone says you're the sum total of the people you hang with, but that's because people don't know why. Like, I mean, I can tell you why. It's because we're based off assimilation. The nature versus nurture law. Nature is what you're born with. Nurture is what you learn after birth, and nurture itself is assimilation. It's the same reason why, like, I study my dogs. It's the same reason why dogs act the way they do. I have two dogs. I have a blue heeler, which is known for herding, and I have a Shiba Inu, which is known for it's a kind of like a watchdog, but they're very cat-like. My Shiba Inu herds other dogs because he learned from his big brother. That's not characterized in that breed, but he learned it because of who he's raised around. So based that on humans, you're going regardless. If you hang around some people from Baltimore, and I'm not even from Baltimore. If you hang around people from Baltimore, you're gonna get a Baltimore slang inevitably. If you're New Orleans, the twang that they have down there. If you hang down with people from New Orleans, you gonna sound like you a boot baby easily. All of a sudden, no matter what race you are, it's because assimilation. That's just how the nature versus nurture works. So with that same, like I told you about the reticulate activation system, and then the people you hang with, you are creating a narrow straw of success, because now the only option your body has is to be like who you're around and what you're digesting. You have no choice. So
No,
yeah.
such a good point. Such a good point.
Yeah.
All right. I want to transition to the Friday mindset part of the show where I dig
Okay.
into your journey, your mindset, and the moments that really shaped you. I want to start off with what's the best piece of advice you ever received?
The best piece of advice I've ever received is less is more. Less is always better than more. Whenever you start becoming more successful, especially people of color from my background, especially people who make it to the leagues and all that stuff, they want to add more to the table. Nah, less is always more. Whenever things get heavy or like you feel like you're not moving as fast, it's because you got too much in the car. Take some things off the car, whether that's people you're around, whether it's how big your house is or how much your expenses are. Cut it, cut it, cut it. And once you learn to enjoy cutting things, you'll be able to move. We were born nomadic. Humans are nomadic. Being grounded in one location, and we're not just talking about location, it's symbolizing everything else, is not how we were made. So yeah, that's the greatest advice I've ever learned was less is more.
That is really, really impactful. Now, with you saying that, what's one truth about life that you wish more people understood?
No one's going to care about you more than you should care about yourself, but that's a good thing. No one's going to care that you have a problem. Everyone has a problem. You should want somebody to care about you more than you care about yourself. That's weird. If someone else has an expectation of your life and that's not even remotely close to your own expectation, that's disappointing. Like if someone said, oh, imagine someone come up to you, I always thought that you could be somebody really special in this world. And you're just a guy who just lives with your parents. That's really disrespectful. Cause it's like, dang, I don't even see that on myself. So yeah, no, the biggest truth is you should never want somebody to care about your problems more than yourself.
If you want it done right, you do it yourself. That's what I always say.
Be your own handy person, whether it's finding that perfect person or having that amount of income or having a status that me and you both strive for. That's a us thing. That's an I thing. It will become a team, right? When we are competent enough. But until we become competent, I should never want somebody to say, man, I want this better for you for your life. What do you mean? You mean I'm not good enough as it is? I can't do it myself now? Nah, that's the truth behind it.
Now, Ro, what kind of legacy are you going to leave?
The legacy that I want to leave, I mean, if we're talking about circle between me and myself, I want a big family and I want everyone around me to be able to say Roland contributed to why my life is good. He left with something for me to be my own person, right? Make their journey half as easy as it could have been for me had I had the same amount of help. Right. But and since outside of that, for the world, I just want to be somebody that people whisper under my name and they're like, oh, Roland Williams III was an author, an actor, a director, a dog whisperer, a influencer. Like when people DM me and they're telling me like whatever they heard about me on a podcast or my story, they're just like, man, you inspired me. Like I love that. I love that. It's like the biggest shot of dopamine I could get in my system. I'm like, okay, cool. People are recognized. I don't care if it's a page that follows 10,000 people and they could be like a bot. I don't care. You just made my day. You think that telling me that I made your life better was good enough to tell me. That's pretty cool. That's pretty
Now,
cool. If I can get like letters of that every day for the rest of my life, I would never complain. Even more than that, don't.
do you plan on making your book into a movie?
I want it to become a TV series. Yeah, I want now. So my book is basically like a mature version of the Avatar, The Last Airbender. right? That's kind of like the inspo for like the fight scenes, the character building, the world building. It's inspired by the last Airbender. 100,000, 10,000, like I will stomp my feet in front of Apple, Amazon, Netflix, whoever it needs to be, who will take that shot. And I'm like, let's make this into a TV series. If anyone reads it, you're going to feel like I should be able to visually see this. Now, I don't want it live action first. If I had it my way, I don't want it live action first. I want it made with animations. And I just believe that one, it'll come out faster if it's done that way, which is cool. And then two, if it's animated, then the scenes could feel like the same way we feel about anime, or how we felt about the Avatar back when it came out as a cartoon. Like you could visually see the lights and special effects better than live action. Live action is cool, but there's a limitation to live action for how crazy the scenes could get, or the visual aspects, because it's like CGI can only do so much.
I'm looking forward to your journey going forward, and I'm really proud of you, by the way. Like, you're doing
Appreciate it.
amazing things at such a young age, and I think we're both doing amazing things. But I mean,
Yeah, for
keep doing
sure.
what you're doing, keep chasing your dreams, because your dreams will not chase you. And the show is called Every Day is Friday, and Friday has a special energy, whether it's freedom, excitement, or just feeling of accomplishment after a long week. Ro, I want to hear from you. What does Friday mean to you?
Friday to me is the symbolism that, it's funny you say that, because I refuse to try to be a weekend warrior. You know, how people who are just like, I can't wait for the weekend. Friday is double down because everyone's getting lazier. Now it sounds like you saw me work out already. Oh yeah, it's a Memorial Day weekend too. This is when I get the most content done. This is when I double down on my YouTube pages. This is when I'm like, let's up the scale, because everyone is relaxing.
That reminds me of like Kobe Bryant, because he was always putting in the work up and way over anyone else, because he was in the gym hours before anyone else would show up, and like
Hmm.
he would put himself in situations to be the best he could be.
Absolutely. No, it's, people want to be great. You don't take a day off. And taking a day off does not mean relaxing. It just means, what 1% are you putting in the pot to get closer to what you want to do? Right? If that means that you're able to do XYZ multiple things, then cool, 1% of every little egg. Or if that means only one thing could get 1% better, just get better at something. Like the 10,000 hour rule that you just said, like 1% better towards that. Because again, you never know. I see my life as a lottery system. You never know. If you put something good out there, you never know. Like I constantly post on my Instagram story. Right. I used to be afraid to do that, because I thought, oh, we'll lose my followers, because you're just like spamming them. I don't put spam. I just like one post a day, like their workout or my dogs, something a day, because you never know. Because of you putting those reels, your podcast out, you never know what that one person is curious enough to look at your story, and now they swipe up because of what you put out there. That you just don't know. You just don't know, and it's like, yeah, if someone were to tell you that, hey, if you post every single day, not necessarily a reel or a post, but like you just put something out there on the internet for that one person who's in the traffic, and they come across, just like if you're driving, you're driving your car, and that one day you're thinking about eating some type of food, maybe chicken, and you see an ad that pops up, billboard or whatever, of a chicken spot that you've never had before. You know what? Today's the day I'll try it. That's what it is like when I post on my stories all the time. Because you never know, that one person who's driving through traffic, that they came through my story. Oh, I do like this. Let me swipe up and introduce myself to him.
That's a great takeaway, because you never know. I like to think about it like, if I don't do it, no one else will. If I never asked you to be on the podcast, this will never be in the universe. It would never
Nope.
even happen.
Nope.
So you have to put yourself out there and really try to be most creative as possible,
Absolutely.
because you only
Absolutely.
get so many summers in a lifetime, really.
Only 52 weeks in a year.
And Ro, this is your chance to leave the listeners with something powerful. Is there anything else you want to share?
The life you live is not the life that you want, but it should be the life that you need. So whenever you're in a situation that may or may not be what you prescribe to yourself, that's only because you didn't want, like you didn't need it, right? You think you want this car, that situation, your mom and dad. It's no, no, no. Change it to, what is it that you need? You always need to breathe. You need oxygen. Change anything that you want in your life and say, I cannot continue unless I need this. If it becomes a need, then it's a priority.
All your information will be in the description down below, but I want the people to know where to find you. Where can the people follow and support your work?
So all my social media handles are all the same. So it's Ro, RO _Will, WILL 15, and that's on my Instagram, my TikTok, and my YouTube page. Yeah, and then like you said, also on Amazon, you can find my book. Book 2 will be dropped this year. Paid Sins, Part 2 of Book 1. It will be dropped this year. I'm self-published. Eventually, I know that I will have a publisher that will come and offer me something lucrative on the table, but until then, this is the most authentic writing you will see.
Before we wrap this up, I just got to ask you, what's the biggest challenge of self-publishing?
The biggest challenge is just trusting yourself, because yeah, it's easy when someone can give you a big lump sum of money and say they'll take care of marketing, but they take away your creativity. If I have everything already out there, they can't change anything. It's already there. And then if it doesn't bode well with me, you want somebody to come to you, not you go to them. If they come to me, they're more likely to listen to my proposition versus the other way around. You got to make it good enough for them. So the biggest challenge with self-publishing is the same reason why anyone's afraid to be accountable in their life. Trusting yourself.
Now, what advice do you have for someone that wants to write their first book?
The biggest advice I would say, without being cliche and saying just doing it, I would say give yourself small goals. Chapter a day, half a chapter a day. Even if it takes a year, but if you put one chapter a day, that mountain's going to be a little bit smaller than it does when you first are at the at the bottom. To get to the summit, you've got to look at it like, okay, cool, I'm gonna get to that cliff. Relax. That cliff. Relax, and eventually you'll get to the summit.
Ro, I know the listeners got a lot of value out of this, and it's been an awesome conversation. I appreciate you being here and sharing your stories and experiences.
I appreciate you inviting me here, man. I loved it.
No, let's do it again sometime, and I appreciate you being on. And to the listeners, stay tuned for more amazing stories on Every Day is Friday Podcast 365. If you enjoyed this, make sure to follow, share, and keep that Every Day is Friday mindset going. Until next time, stay inspired and keep Every Day is Friday mindset going. Until next time, everybody.
See ya.